Hi everyone, and welcome in. In our last workshop, we laid the groundwork for our persistent pain education. We explored the physiological processes around how pain is formed, both short and long term, started to view the healing process as working on the entire self, and took a look at some of the various tools that someone can add to their toolkit to start moving in a more positive direction. Today, I want to dive a little deeper into one of those tools, the one that you have been doing your whole life and are hopefully doing at this very moment, breathing. When I first started realizing that I was dealing with long-term pain, my first instinct was to try and fix whatever was wrong from a purely mechanical perspective. I thought that if I could just get that one faulty joint or bone back to the correct angle, then everything else would just click into place. And while it is incredibly important to do that more tangible body work, and we'll talk about that in our next workshop, what I hadn't accounted for was all of the less visible ways that my body was also communicating with me. I didn't understand all of the pain signals that had turned on and were turned up very loud. I could only feel in a very visceral way that my body and my brain were sending these messages back and forth to each other, seemingly uncontrollably. What I didn't understand is that we have tools at our disposal to influence those signals on very immediate and lasting levels. We have ways to help turn down the volume on those pain signals, even if we can't turn them all the way off, and ways to help experience a little more relief from that persistent pain that we've been dealing with. And that's where working with our breath comes in. So today, we're going to start with some of those most important building blocks in our breathwork education. We're going to dive into the physiological processes around how breathing works and affects our body, how we can access those benefits when we use our breath as an intentional tool, and we'll go through an example session together so that you can get started on your breathwork practice today. All right, let's get to it. All right, hello everyone, and welcome into today's workshop. Welcome into Breathing for Humans, a practical guide on breathwork benefits for persistent pain, with me, your host, Dodge McIntosh. I'm really excited to share this with you, and I'm really glad that you're here. We've got some great workshop content ahead, jam-packed with a ton of helpful info that will hopefully leave you feeling like you have a better handle on your pain journey and have this really great tool to add to your toolkit so that you can face that journey with a little bit renewed energy and confidence. So a quick rundown on what we're going to be talking about today. We'll start things off talking about the physiology of breath and the roles that it plays in the body without us even knowing it. From there, we'll move into talking about our persistent pain framework, the overall goals of what we're trying to change, how breathwork fits into that picture, and some of the ways that it offers hope for the path ahead. We'll spend a little bit of time looking even closer at using all of those effects to our benefit when we harness our breath intentionally, followed by a practical example of what a daily breathwork practice can look like. Finally, we'll talk about what taking those next steps can look like if you do want to work with somebody like me to help guide you along that healing journey, and the ways that I incorporate breathwork for my persistent pain clients. Before we jump into all of that, I want to share a little bit about myself. So like I mentioned at the top, my name is Dodge McIntosh. We've got some credentials there, and we'll go over all of that on the next slide. But really overall, what I want to share about myself is what I hope to help you with. So I'm somebody who teaches my clients the principles of corrective exercise, of breathwork, and of nervous system reconditioning. I do all of this so that they can empower themselves with research-based practices to move towards a pain-minimized lifestyle and really reclaim the joy in their lives. I'm somebody who has also been a long-term pain sufferer myself. I know what those really low lows can feel like, how defeating that can be, how depressing that can be, how much anxiety that can cause, how much stress and pressure comes with it, and how all of that leaks into every facet of your life. When you have that long-term pain, it's not just that your ankle is hurting or your back's a little sore. Eventually that pain can and does filter into every aspect of your life. So I have been in those valleys with you, but I also know how incredible it can feel to get some relief from all of that. And so that's really why I'm here talking about all of this. That's why I'm so passionate about all of this, is to help others feel some of that sense of relief and reclaim the joy in their lives. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, as promised, just some quick housekeeping as we're getting going here, namely talking a little bit about my scope of practice and some of the things that we'll discuss today. So, as you see up there, those first two line items are really my scope of practice. I'm a certified personal trainer and corrective exercise specialist through the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and I'm a certified breathwork teacher through a Yoga Alliance certified course. And those are going to be the two main areas of focus for the programs that I create with my clients. We'll explore some other avenues of healing, and of course, I'm always adding more to the toolkit, but those two will form a lot of the foundations of what we're doing. With corrective exercise, we look at the more mechanical aspect of what we do. And then a lot of the breath work and meditation techniques make up the nervous system side of that conditioning that we do. You'll also see some very important disclaimers there. I am not a medical doctor. I'm not a licensed therapist. Please always, always, always consult with your primary healthcare provider first when you're experiencing symptoms of pain or discomfort, and seek the advice of your doctor or other qualified health provider regarding the diagnosis of a medical condition. One of the main things that we'll learn throughout the workshop today when we're experiencing pain is that pain is ultimately a protector. It's our body trying to send us a message about something potentially going on in our body. A lot of times, the perspectives that we'll talk about today deal with acute injuries, followed by that turning into chronic or long-term pain. We'll talk about those pain signals not shutting off when they should, or not quieting down, not lowering that volume when we should. So that's really a lot of the focus that we'll have for today. But again, like I've written on the screen here, please consult your primary healthcare provider first if you're experiencing that pain or discomfort, because it can be signs of underlying medical conditions or different problems. And so we always want to rule all of that out first before we jump into some of the techniques that we'll be going over today. Now that we've got all that out of the way, let's get into some of this framing up of where our breath work fits into our broader long-term pain discussion. And I wanted to start our presentation today with this quote in mind. This is from Max Strom, a noted breathwork teacher, author, and speaker. Some doors only open from the inside. Breath is a way of accessing that door. And I think this is really, really, really important when we're discussing pain, when we're discussing persistent pain, long-term pain, and all of the struggles that can come with it. Many times when folks are getting started on their road to recovery from persistent pain, they understandably are looking for solutions that feel more tangible. If I can just manipulate that right bone back into the right place, then this will all go away. And while we are going to do a lot of work when it comes to our body for long-term pain, one of the most powerful tools that we have at our disposal for calming those pain signals overall and becoming more resilient to future ones is actually something internal, something that we've been passively doing our whole lives. So with that encouragement in hand, let's jump into our discussion so we can start to open that door a little bit more and look inside to understanding and empowerment. Okay, so we're going to start things off with a very quick review on something that you've been doing your whole life and are hopefully doing right now, breathing. While it feels simple and automatic, breathing actually involves a ton of different structures and systems within the body. There are things like the nasal cavity in the mouth, where the air actually enters your body, or the larynx, also known as the voice box, which houses your vocal cords and plays a role in sound production and airway protection. While all of those are important, for our conversation today, we're going to be mostly focused on the lungs and diaphragm. Your lungs are the primary organs of respiration. When you inhale through your nose or mouth, air travels down your pharynx, the back of your throat, passes through your larynx, your voice box, and into your trachea, or your windpipe. Your trachea is divided into two air passages called bronchial tubes. One bronchial tube leads to your left lung, the other to your right lung. Your bronchial tubes lead to smaller air passages called bronchi, and then into bronchioles. The bronchioles end in tiny air sacs called alveoli, where oxygen is transferred from the inhaled air to your blood. After absorbing oxygen, the blood leaves your lungs and is carried to your heart. From there, it's pumped through your body to provide oxygen to the cells of your tissues and organs. This flow of air seems automatic, but what's the driving force that starts the process? Is it the muscles in your nose? Go ahead and try flaring your nostrils just by themselves. Are you automatically breathing? What about just opening and closing your mouth? My guess is that some of you might even be unintentionally holding your breath at this point. So let's bring in the muscle doing the heavy lifting here, your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle located just below your lungs. And during inhalation, it contracts and moves downward. This downward movement, this contraction, increases the volume of your thoracic cavity, or the space above. You also have external intercostal muscles, these muscles between your ribs that also contract, lifting your rib cage and further expanding that space. The expansion of the thoracic cavity decreases the air pressure within your lungs, and this drop in pressure causes air to rush in through the trachea and the bronchi, filling the alveoli with fresh oxygen. And then during exhalation, right, when you exhale at rest, the diaphragm and those external intercostal muscles, or those rib muscles, begin to relax. And this relaxation reduces the volume of that space above. During forced expiration or exercise, those rib muscles can contract more forcefully to push out that air more forcefully. But overall, reducing this volume of that thoracic cavity increases the air pressure within your lungs, causing the air to flow out, carrying away carbon dioxide. And if we go back and forth here a little bit, right, we can see when that muscle contracts, the space above expands and the air flows in. And when that muscle relaxes, that space above decreases and the air flows out. So the diaphragm is really the main muscle helping move air into and out of the lungs. And if you want to feel what that more diaphragmatic breathing feels like, we'll get to that a little bit further on. But if you want to see what that feels like now, on our deep inhale, we really want to feel our belly expand instead of our chest. And on each exhale, we want to feel our belly empty and draw back into our torso. As air is moving into and out of our body, it's playing another key movement role. Within the alveoli in the lungs, the actual exchange of gases takes place. Oxygen from the inhaled air diffuses into the bloodstream, binding with hemoglobin and red blood cells. At the same time, carbon dioxide, produced by cellular metabolism, diffuses from the blood into the alveoli to be exhaled. And that oxygen-carbon dioxide gas exchange in the respiratory system is a crucial physiological process that's vital for maintaining the overall health and proper functioning of the body. Let's take a quick detour into why that gas exchange is so important for healthy bodily function. And it starts with oxygen uptake, or oxygenation. Inhaled air contains oxygen, which is essential for our cellular respiration, and that's the process by which cells generate energy in the form of ATP to carry out their functions. During inhalation, oxygen diffuses across the moist, thin alveolar membranes into the surrounding capillaries, where it binds with hemoglobin in red blood cells. Oxygenated blood is then transported throughout the body, delivering oxygen to tissues and organs. This oxygen is used by cells to produce energy, and without an adequate supply of oxygen, that cell function would be impaired. We also have this other really critical piece of the gas exchange, carbon dioxide removal, or ventilation. As cells metabolize, they produce carbon dioxide, or CO2, as a waste product. Accumulation of CO2 in the body can be toxic and disrupt normal cellular functions. That carbon dioxide is carried in the bloodstream in the form of bicarbonate ions, dissolved CO2, and bound to hemoglobin. During exhalation, carbon dioxide diffuses from the bloodstream into the alveoli, and from there it's expelled from your body when you breathe out. This efficient removal of CO2 maintains the body's acid-base balance and prevents a buildup of this waste product, which is really important for a whole bunch of different reasons. So many, in fact, that we don't have time to get into all of them here today. But overall, this gas exchange in the lungs is essential for oxygenating the body's cells, removing that metabolic waste, and maintaining this acid-base balance. Without efficient gas exchange, the body systems would become compromised, leading to a range of health issues. So the respiratory system's role in gas exchange is indispensable for the overall health and proper functioning of our body. So we've established, or maybe reestablished, how important our automatic, everyday breath is for maintaining a healthy functioning system. From here, I want to also share how we can use breath intentionally to alter that everyday system and become a powered up version of something that we've had with us all along. In essence, by consciously controlling your breath and engaging in that slow, deep diaphragmatic breathing, you can stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system, or our rest and digest system. promoting that relaxation and the sense of calm, which is especially useful in managing stress, anxiety, and subsequently persistent pain. Before we get into all of that, let's take a quick step back and talk about our entire nervous system, how pain affects that system and vice versa, and some of the ways that breathing can change all of that. In our last workshop, we jumped into all of this in a ton more depth. So if you haven't had a chance to watch that, or if it seems like we're moving through this section really fast, I strongly encourage you to go check that out so you have all of the important context and nuance about how our nervous system and pain interact with each other. One of the key concepts that I introduced there is an invitation or an encouragement for you to start to shift from a mind-body framework to something with a more unified perspective. While mind-body is great for recognizing that there is importance in some of the less tangible pieces of ourselves, it still inherently divides us into these two distinct pieces. Instead, I invite you to think of the mind and the body not as separate entities, but rather integral parts of a complex and interconnected system. The nervous system, composed of your brain, spinal cord, and peripheral nerves, serves as the orchestrator of this intricate symphony. Our emotions, thoughts, and perceptions are not solely confined to the mind. They're really intricately woven into the fabric of our neural networks, with every experience leaving an imprint on the nervous system. Conversely, our physical well-being, including sensations, movements, and physiological processes, can significantly impact our mental and emotional states. So, I hope you'll join me in moving beyond the traditional understanding of the mind-body connection, and I invite you to embrace an approach where you are thinking about molding your entire unified nervous system. With this approach, we're going to acknowledge the profound interconnections between our mental, emotional, and physical experiences, and by recognizing the central role of the nervous system, we can open doors to new insights and more holistic or systemic approaches that can enhance our well-being on multiple levels. When we're talking about that entire nervous system, two of the key players in it are going to be your central nervous system and your peripheral nervous system. Made up of the brain and the spinal cord, you can think of the central nervous system, or CNS, as the control center of your body. The brain carries out a tremendous amount of tasks that we won't be able to comprehensively cover here, but as it pertains to our conversation, our brain is focused on two main things. It helps try to protect you and helps try to make sense of the world around you. The brain is responsible for processing information, emotions, memories, and senses like seeing and hearing. And the spinal cord is the primary way that that information is passed back and forth, connecting your brain to the rest of your body. It relays messages, allowing you to move, feel, and respond to various stimuli. And then working closely with the central nervous system, we have the peripheral nervous system, or the PNS. The peripheral nervous system extends beyond the CNS and reaches every nook and cranny of your body. It consists of countless nerves that serve as messengers between your body and the CNS. Within this peripheral system, we have two main divisions, the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. The somatic motor nerves carry commands from your brain to your muscles and your organs, allowing you to move, speak, and carry out everyday actions. This is the part of our bodies that we think of as largely under our control, or voluntary. The autonomic nervous system, on the other hand, plays a crucial role in regulating our bodily functions beyond conscious control. The ANS governs essential processes such as heartbeat, digestion, and breathing, allowing us to navigate our daily lives without having to consciously will each individual action. You can think of it as your body's behind-the-scenes manager, working tirelessly to keep things running smoothly. The autonomic nervous system further branches into two more subdivisions, the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, and these have somewhat opposite but complementary roles. The sympathetic system carries signals that put your body systems on alert, fueling our flight or fight response when faced with perceived threats. It increases your heart rate, releases energy and various hormones, and sharpens your focus, allowing you to respond effectively to potential threats. This can be really helpful when we're trying to survive in a dangerous situation, like a car crash or running from a bear. Where it gets not as helpful is when that same response is triggered even when we are fundamentally safe, but dealing with things like daily stress, negative life events, unresolved trauma, or persistent pain. On the flip side, the parasympathetic system turns on when it's time to rest and recover, carrying signals that return your body systems to their standard activity levels when it's safe to do so, or after those periods of stress or danger. It promotes relaxation, slows down your heart rate, and releases other hormones and supports digestion. Like I mentioned earlier, it's often referred to as that rest and digest system, contrasted with the fight or flight. Essentially, your parasympathetic system is a network of nerves that relaxes your body and helps run life-sustaining processes at those times when you're safe and relaxed. Because these two systems offset each other, they help maintain balance in your body. Sometimes persistent pain or other factors can disrupt this balance, leading to those imbalances in your autonomic nervous system. More specifically for us today, your sympathetic nervous system takes the lead when your survival and safety are at risk, but that system's actions can strain the body systems when it's active for too long. Together, the CNS, PNS, and ANS form an intricate tapestry of nerves, functioning harmoniously, hopefully, to facilitate our existence. Those same systems that try to keep us functioning harmoniously also play some critical roles when it comes to pain. So we'll start by looking at how acute pain is formed. The explanation of acute pain helps us understand a little bit more about how our entire nervous system works. And while the explanation of acute pain cannot fully explain long-term pain, it does help. From there, we'll shift the discussion to when and how that acute pain becomes persistent, followed by how we can use our breath to turn down some of those pain volume signals. Our understanding of acute pain begins with pain signals and reception, specifically with specialized nerve endings called nociceptor nerves. Nociceptor nerves are like the body's own change detectors, alerting us to potential harm or damage. These specialized nerve endings are found in various tissues, such as the skin, muscles, joints, and organs, and they're incredibly sensitive to different types of stimuli. Includes temperature extremes, mechanical pressure, chemicals released during inflammation. This broad sensitivity allows them to detect a whole wide range of potential threats to our body's well-being. Some of those nerves are focused on tissue damage, like a cut or a scrape or stretching of tissue. Others are focused on damage from extreme heat or cold. Some nociceptors are focused on mechanical pressure, such as vertebrae in the spine putting too much pressure on a nerve. We also have nociceptors for detecting chemical changes, such as noticing if we touch acid. Also have nerves focused on inflammation, such as the inflammation of a joint or muscle due to injury or illness. When you accidentally touch something hot, stub your toe, or experience any other type of injury or tissue damage, nociceptor nerves spring into action. They send signals to your brain letting it know that something potentially harmful is happening. This is your body's way of saying, hey, we need to pay attention and take action to protect ourselves. It's important to remember here that nociceptor nerves are not the only determinants or even the sources or generators of pain. Nociceptors simply provide that initial input that triggers our brain's interpretation of pain. From that initial detection of change, we move into the transmission or suppression of pain signals. As we saw in that last slide, once a nociceptor nerve detects a potentially harmful environmental change, it springs into action to send an urgent message to your brain, attempting to sound the alert to ensure your body takes necessary protective measures. First, the nociceptor nerve converts the detected stimulus, such as a sharp object or extreme temperature, into an electrical signal. This electrical signal travels along those nerve fibers like tiny messengers towards the spinal cord. Nerve is essentially calling out, danger, we need help. The alarm signals reach the spinal cord, where they undergo processing. There's a fascinating concept called the gate control theory of pain, which suggests that the spinal cord acts as a gate, either allowing or blocking the transmission of pain signals to the brain. Different factors like emotions, attention, or descending pathways from the brain can modify that pain transmission, and the gatekeepers play a crucial role in modulating the pain response and determining the intensity or the perception of pain. If the gatekeepers determine that the pain signal should proceed, the electrical signal continues its journey up the spinal cord towards the brain. The spinothalamic tract is the major pathway for transmitting pain signals, and it carries information related to the intensity, quality, and location of pain to various brain regions. Along the way, it passes through various relay stations where the signal is further processed and filtered. Finally, the pain signal reaches the brain, specifically areas like the thalamus and the cerebral cortex, which are involved in sensory perception and interpretation. Your brain receives the message loud and clear, allowing you to become consciously aware of the pain or initiate those appropriate responses. At the same time, the brain's emotional centers may also become involved, influencing your emotional and psychological response to the pain. This can result in feelings of fear, distress, or anxiety, which all further shape your pain experience. Before we move on here, on that last slide, we just saw that there was some variability about whether or not a pain signal actually goes to the brain. And I want to spend some time and really focus and zoom in on that piece for a bit and talk a little bit more detail about the gate control theory of pain, because it can offer some really good insight into our toolkit that we'll talk about later to manage pain on our own. The gate control theory presents the notion of these conceptual gates that have the power to either permit or inhibit the transmission of pain signals to our perceptive brain. These gates, although they're not actual physical gate structures, are under the influence of different types of nerve fibers residing within the spinal cord. They function as this really sophisticated control mechanism, and the gates take into account a bunch of different factors: the intensity of the pain signal, the contextual backdrop of the pain experience, and the cognitive and emotional state of the person experiencing it. The gates also actively consider a whole bunch of other sensory inputs at the same time, including non-painful stimuli like touch, pressure, and temperature. When those non-painful stimuli engage with the large diameter fibers, which are associated with non-painful sensations, the gates can close, which curbs the transmission of pain signals. It's this phenomenon that explains the tangible relief that can be brought on by techniques such as gentle touch, soothing massage, the application of heat, or the gentle hum of vibrations. These mechanical and physical strategies can intentionally stir those large diameter fibers, contributing to a lessened pain perception. Another pivotal facet within the gate control theory is this really remarkable influence of endorphins. These incredible substances are natural pain relievers crafted by our own bodies and interact with the opioid receptors nestled within the framework of our brain and spinal cord. Any number of activities can ignite the release of these endorphins, ranging from invigorating physical exercise to the contagious joy of laughter, the warmth of social interactions, and the embrace of positive experiences. Their release serves as a key component in the process of gate closure, which suppresses the transmission of pain signals, which gives you relief from discomfort and can foster that profound sense of well-being. We also have to remember that the gate control theory of pain consists of a really complex framework, since there are countless different factors that collectively shape our perception of pain. But from a more structured program standpoint, by integrating some of those mechanical and physical strategies that engage the large diameter fibers, alongside activities that ignite the release of endorphins, we can start to optimize our pain management endeavors. Okay, so we've seen that pain is trying to protect us and alert us of potential threats. Why and how does that short-term pain become long-term or persistent? Well, there are a ton of different reasons as to why acute pain can become longer lasting. And for a more exhaustive look at all of those, again, I really encourage you to go watch our first workshop. But for our tie-in with breathwork today, one of the really key culprits is going to be how persistent, nociceptive input creates a state of ongoing stimulation of the nervous system. As a response to that continuous input, the nervous system undergoes changes that lead to increased pain sensitivity and altered pain processing. This is that phenomenon that we mentioned earlier called central sensitization. Central sensitization involves a series of these neurophysiological changes in the spinal cord and the brain that result in an amplification of pain signals and enhanced perception of pain. A really common analogy that you might hear out there is to imagine your nervous system as an alarm system, right? Designed to protect you from potential threats. This alarm system is composed of sensory nerves that detect signals from your surroundings, including those pain signals. When a real danger is detected, in our example, such as a burglar breaking into your house, the alarm system activates, turns on the light, sending signals to your brain, and you experience the pain, alerting you to the threat. In a healthy state, this alarm system operates effectively, accurately distinguishing between real threats and those harmless stimuli. The gateways along the spine that we discussed earlier act like filters, allowing only the relevant and important pain signals to pass through, while blocking out those non-threatening stimuli. However, in the case of this central sensitization, the alarm system becomes faulty. Those same gates become more stuck in the open position, allowing a flood of pain signals to pass through, even in response to harmless stimuli. It's as if that alarm system's sensitivity has been dialed up to the very highest level, causing it to trigger false alarm pain responses even when there's no actual danger present. In this faulty alarm system scenario, even that non-painful things such as light touch or gentle pressure can set off the alarm, resulting in the experience of pain that's disproportionate to the actual stimulus. The nervous system has become hypersensitive in this case, and the amplification of pain signals starts to go into that maintenance of persistent pain. Scientifically, this central sensitization is due in large part to our neuroplasticity that we've touched on a couple times, where the structure and the function of the nervous system undergo changes. Prolonged nociceptive input from the damaged tissues or the ongoing inflammation can trigger these neuroplastic changes, where those connections between nerve cells in the spinal cord and the brain become stronger and more excitable, amplifying the transmission of the pain signals. Right? Additionally, some of those balances of the neurotransmitters that we talked about earlier, those chemical messengers in the nervous system may become altered, which further promote the enhanced pain sensitivity. So that heightened sensitivity is really illustrative, really indicative of an overactive sympathetic nervous system, that branch that controls our fight or flight response. And one last eye-opening discussion around the formation of persistent pain is the impact that increased activation of the sympathetic nervous system, or SNS, has, and just how many different things turn that switch on. As we now know, the SNS is responsible for the body's fight or flight response, and when faced with high traumatic events or even daily stressors, the SNS becomes activated, leading to physiological changes designed to protect us in times of perceived danger. During high traumatic events, such as a car accident or a severe injury, the SNS is triggered, resulting in this rapid and intense response. The release of stress hormones like adrenaline and noradrenaline prepares the body for immediate action. While this response is necessary for survival in acute situations, prolonged activation of the SNS in long-term pain can have detrimental effects. But it doesn't have to be a high traumatic event that triggers the SNS response. In daily life, even seemingly minor stressors can activate the sympathetic system to some extent. For example, encountering heavy traffic, receiving an upsetting email, or anticipating a challenging task can activate that sympathetic response. While these events may not pose a direct threat to our immediate physical safety, our body's stress response system may interpret those potential stressors in a similarly threatening manner. When the SNS is chronically activated in the context of pain, it can lead to some of those physiological changes, including increased heart rate, blood pressure, and muscle tension. It can also enhance inflammation and contribute to immune system dysregulation. All changes that we've started to see that can exacerbate that pain perception and contribute to the maintenance of long-term pain. To illustrate, let's consider a daily example. Imagine you have a demanding job that consistently requires long hours and high levels of concentration. Each day, as you face work-related stressors, your body's stress response system becomes activated. The sympathetic nervous system is triggered, leading to increased heart rate, shallow breathing, and muscle tension. Over time, this continual activation of the SNS can contribute to the persistence of your long-term pain by amplifying pain signals and promoting inflammation. Understanding this role of increased SNS activation in persistent pain can help us recognize the importance of stress management techniques and relaxation strategies in pain management. By implementing some of those practices, such as deep breathing exercises, mindfulness, and regular physical activity, seeking social support, we can regulate that SNS response a little bit more, decreasing the physiological arousal and potentially breaking the cycle of persistent pain. So now that we have a quick view of the pain landscape, let's take a look at some of the skills that we'll be building up to help us balance the scales a little bit more. Nearly all of the tools that we're going to discuss and use fall into these three areas of focus. Calming the nervous system plays a crucial role in pain management by reducing the body's stress response and promoting that state of relaxation. As we've seen, persistent pain often leads to heightened sympathetic nervous system activity, worsening pain and increasing that muscle tension. By engaging in relaxation techniques such as deep breathing, meditation, or mindfulness, we can activate our parasympathetic nervous system, promoting that sense of calmness and reducing pain sensitivity. Our next tool is moving the body with intention. Intentional physical movement and corrective exercise are important components of pain management. Regular physical activity, tailored to individual capabilities and guided by a professional, help to improve overall physical function and mobility. It can promote blood circulation, enhance muscle strength and flexibility. It releases endorphins, those natural pain-relieving chemicals in the body. Corrective exercises specifically target muscle imbalances, postural issues, and movement dysfunctions that might contribute to pain. By addressing these underlying factors, we can improve biomechanics and reduce the strain on affected tissues, thereby managing pain more effectively. And finally, developing emotional flexibility is vital in the context of pain management, because long-term pain often leads to emotional distress, such as anxiety, depression, frustration, and fear. Emotional flexibility involves cultivating adaptive coping strategies and a resilient mindset to navigate the challenges of persistent pain. This includes developing self-awareness, practicing acceptance, engaging in positive self-talk, seeking social support, and engaging in activities that bring joy and fulfillment. By enhancing emotional flexibility, individuals can better regulate emotional responses to pain, reduce stress, and improve overall well-being. When combined, these approaches provide a holistic framework for managing persistent pain. Calming the nervous system reduces pain sensitivity. Intentional physical movement and corrective exercise enhance physical function and pain modulation. And developing emotional flexibility helps individuals cope with the emotional impact of persistent pain. By incorporating these strategies into a comprehensive pain management plan, individuals can experience improved pain control, enhanced quality of life, and a greater sense of well-being. So breathwork for us is going to really play a big part in that first class of techniques in calming the nervous system. So we've talked quite a bit about the role that breath plays in our body and talked a little bit more about our nervous system, the various ways that that's interacting with our persistent pain. Now let's take a look at what happens when we use that breath intentionally as a tool for us. Intentional breathwork can have a profound impact on pain management by influencing the brain's ability to adapt and rewire itself, right? It really comes down to a ton of these positive neuroplastic adaptations that breathwork can help with. Things like cognitive reframing. Intentional breathwork can help reframe that perception of pain. By consciously focusing on the breath, we can learn to reinterpret pain sensations, reducing the emotional response to it. And over time, this rewiring of cognitive patterns can lead to a higher pain threshold and a better pain tolerance. Neurotransmitter regulation. Some breathwork techniques, particularly those involving controlled breath retention, can stimulate the release of endorphins and other neurotransmitters associated with pain relief. This can create new neural pathways that reinforce the brain's ability to manage and mitigate pain. Stress reduction and tension reduction. These are probably a couple of the first things that you think of when you hear benefits of a breathwork practice. The relaxation response triggered by breathwork promotes the brain's capacity for resilience against stress. Long-term pain often leads to that increased stress, that increased SNS activation, which can exacerbate the pain perception. By reducing stress, breathwork can help dampen that pain's impact on the brain and central nervous system. And lastly here, pain pathway modification. Through consistent breathwork practice, individuals can influence the brain's pain pathways. By redirecting attention away from the pain and toward the breath, they disrupt the brain's habitual pain processing, fostering plasticity in these new neural circuits and allowing for alternative, less painful responses. In essence, what we're talking about here, intentional breathwork engages neuroplasticity by reshaping the brain's response to pain, promoting greater resilience and reducing the overall impact of pain on an individual's well-being. Over time, this can lead to improved pain management and a more positive relationship with pain perception. All of these changes sound really great, really profound, But how do we actually go about triggering these changes? Well, in a basic sense, it all comes back to calming the nervous system. Calming the nervous system is a crucial aspect of pain management, as it really directly addresses the heightened stress response associated with persistent pain. When that sympathetic nervous system activity becomes overactive, as we see, it can lead to increased muscle tension, the heightened pain sensitivity, and the state of heightened arousal. This heightened SNS activity can perpetuate the pain cycle and make pain feel more intense. So to counteract this response, we're going to explore many techniques to activate the body's parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for promoting relaxation and reducing stress. Deep breathing exercises, such as diaphragmatic breathing or mindful breathing, help activate the PNS and shift the body into a state of relaxation. By focusing on slow, deep breaths, we can activate that peripheral response, which in turn helps to reduce muscle tension, lower heart rate, and decrease the release of stress hormones. On top of that, mindfulness and meditation practices can be highly effective in calming the nervous system. These techniques involve focusing attention on the present moment, cultivating a non-judgmental awareness of bodily sensations, thoughts, and emotions. By practicing mindfulness, we can create a sense of inner calm, reduce that anxiety, and promote overall relaxation, which can have a positive impact on pain perception. Overall, engaging in many activities that promote that relaxation, such as taking warm baths, practicing gentle stretching or yoga, listening to soothing music, spending time in nature, can also help to calm the nervous system. These activities all provide an opportunity to unwind, reduce muscle tension, and shift the body's response away from the heightened stress associated with long-term pain. By intentionally moving the nervous system from a sympathetic state to a parasympathetic state, we can interrupt that pain cycle and create an environment that's more conducive to pain management by reducing that stress, that muscle tension, and that pain sensitivity. In that mission to move from SNS to PNS, breathwork is going to be one of the most accessible tools that we have for using our voluntary system to alter our autonomic responses. Breathwork techniques offer a range of benefits for managing persistent pain by influencing the nervous system and facilitating those positive changes in the body. The breath serves as a powerful tool for regulating the autonomic nervous system, which governs those automatic bodily functions. So by consciously altering the way that we breathe, we can directly impact our physiological and psychological states. Deep, slow diaphragmatic breathing engages the parasympathetic nervous system, signaling to the body that it is safe and allowing for a shift from a state of heightened alertness to one of calmness. Additional breathwork techniques such as belly breathing, alternate nostril breathing, or guided relaxation exercises activate specific neural pathways that directly communicate with the brain's limbic system, which regulates emotions and pain perception. This activation triggers the release of endorphins and other natural pain-relieving substances, promoting a sense of well-being and reducing pain intensity. Breathwork also works to help regulate the body's physiological responses. By focusing on those slow, controlled breaths, we can start to regulate our heart rate. We can lower blood pressure and decrease cortisol levels, which are often elevated in persistent pain conditions. These physiological changes not only contribute to pain reduction, but also work to support overall health and well-being. And finally, consistent practice of breathwork can induce that positive neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and form new connections. Through regular and intentional breathing exercises, we can cultivate a more balanced and resilient nervous system. And this enhanced neuroplasticity, like we saw on one of our previous slides, reduces the hypersensitivity of pain pathways, modulates those pain signals, promotes a greater sense of control over pain perception. To wrap up our anatomy section of the discussion before we get into our guided example, I want to introduce you to the vagus nerve, since it's a key piece of that parasympathetic activation. The vagus nerve, also known as the 10th cranial nerve or the wandering nerve, is a key component of that parasympathetic nervous system through a process known as the vagal brake. It earned its nickname the wandering nerve because of its extensive and far-reaching network throughout the body, and it's the longest of the cranial nerves, with multiple branches that extend from the brainstem to various organs, including the heart, lungs, stomach, intestines. These branches wander throughout the body, connecting to a wide range of vital structures and playing a crucial role in regulating various bodily functions. For today, we're probably most concerned with its role in breath and in that parasympathetic activation. So when you take slow, deep breaths, particularly through the diaphragm, that belly breathing, that diaphragmatic breathing from earlier, rather than shallow chest breathing, you can stimulate this vagus nerve. And this is because the vagus nerve is closely connected to the diaphragm and can be influenced by the rhythm and depth of your breaths. Prolonging the exhalation phase of your breath cycle, such as through techniques like the 4-7-8 or box breathing, can further stimulate the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is most active during exhalation, so a longer exhale can enhance its activation. Additionally, deep controlled breathing triggers the vagus nerve to release acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that promotes a state of relaxation and reduces the fight or flight response associated with the sympathetic nervous system. All of this parasympathetic activation through controlled breathing is what helps reduce stress, reduce anxiety, and promotes that sense of calm and well-being. So our breath is essential and it is extraordinary, right? We've seen that it performs a whole bunch of different tasks, tremendous amount of heavy lifting when it comes to keeping our bodies healthy and happy. So from here, let's explore how we can actually tap into those parasympathetic superpowers on a more practical level together. That's right, it's time to put it into practice. It's time for our first breathwork session together. And hopefully this is one that you feel free to incorporate into your daily practice. All right, so let's go ahead and get set up for our own session. Setting up for a round of breathwork practice is essential to create a comfortable and focused environment. So let's go over some steps to help you get physically prepared for a breathwork session. We'll talk about body position, right? So you want to choose whether you want to sit or lie down for your breathwork practice. Choice depends on your comfort, your ability, and the type of breathwork that you plan to do. But here's how to set up for each position. If you choose to sit in a comfortable chair or on the floor with your legs crossed, or maybe on a cushion or pillow. You want to keep your spine straight, but not rigid. I like to actually use the cue, you want to be sitting comfortably tall. And rest your hands on your lap or your knees. If you prefer to lie down, find a soft but supportive surface like a yoga mat, a bed, or a comfortable rug. Keep your legs uncrossed and your arms by your side with your palms facing up. Allow your body to fully relax. If necessary, use things like cushions, pillows, or maybe some yoga props to support your posture and make it more comfortable. Place them under your seat or under your head, under your legs to provide a little extra support. We don't want you feeling that body tension while you're getting into this practice, so go ahead and use those cushions to make yourself comfortable. Speaking of comfortability, you want to be wearing loose, comfortable clothing that allows for unrestricted movement and breathing. Avoid any tight or constricting clothing that might inhibit your breath. Pay attention to your body's alignment as well, right? Make sure your head, neck, and spine are in a neutral and relaxed position. If you're sitting, like we said, maintain good posture without straining your back. And if you're lying down, let your body rest in a natural position. And a last note here, create a quiet and peaceful environment for yourself, free from distractions. Silence your phone or eliminate any other potential sources of noise that could disrupt your practice. By setting up your body and posture in a comfortable and supportive manner, you can fully immerse yourself in your breathwork practice and enhance your overall experience. A well-prepared physical space, even if it's not anything huge or fancy or crazy, allows you to focus on your breath, relaxation, and the intended benefits of your practice. One last note on technique before we jump into the actual guided practice has to do with the way that you'll be inhaling. If it's safe for you to do so and you don't have any medical or anatomical issues preventing you from doing so, we want to be doing our inhaling through our nose and our exhaling out through our mouth. Breathing through your nose can offer some different advantages over breathing in through your mouth. The nasal passages act as natural filters, trapping dust, allergens, and particles in the air. They also add moisture to the inhaled air, humidifying and conditioning it before it enters the respiratory system. This helps protect the airways and prevents dryness or irritation. Inhaling through the nose also allows the air to be warmed to near body temperature before it reaches the lungs. This is especially beneficial during cold weather, when inhaling cold air directly through the mouth can be harsh on the respiratory system. The nose also releases nitric oxide, a molecule with various health benefits. Nitric oxide helps dilate blood vessels, increases blood flow, and improves oxygen uptake in the lungs. It also plays a key role in regulating blood pressure. Breathing through the nose as opposed to the mouth promotes slower, deeper breaths. These slower, deeper breaths engages the diaphragm more fully and allows for better oxygen exchange in the lungs, enhancing our oxygen uptake. All right, that nasal breathing really does engage the diaphragm, that primary muscle of respiration, more effectively. Through this, we can strengthen that muscle and encourage a more efficient breathing pattern. And while we're on the note of our diaphragm, remember, we really want to be engaging that during this session. So on our deep inhale, we really want to feel our belly expand instead of our chest. And on each exhale, we want to feel our belly empty and draw back into our torso. All right, with all of that out of the way, let's get into our breathing practice together. For today, we're going to be doing something called step breathing. We're going to breathe in for a count of 4 and out for a count of 8. While we breathe in, we're going to break the flow. So we'll breathe in, then hold. Breathe in, then hold. We'll do that 4 times before our long exhale. So get set up in your comfortable position, whether that's seated or lying down. Bring yourself and your focus to this moment right here. Think about all of those wonderful processes in your body that this practice is going to bring. Bring your focus to your diaphragm. When you're ready, take an easy breath in and then exhale all of the air from your lungs. And breathing in, hold, in, hold, in, hold, in, hold the breath. And exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, hold, in, hold, in, hold, in, hold the breath. And exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, hold, in, hold, in, hold, in, hold the breath. And exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathing in, hold, in, hold, in, hold, in, hold the breath. And out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're halfway there. In, hold, in, hold, in, hold, in, hold the breath. And exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, hold, in, hold, in, hold, in, hold the breath. And exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, hold, in, hold, in, hold, in, hold the breath. And exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, hold, in, hold, in, hold, in, hold the breath. And exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Last one, big breath in, hold, in, hold, in, hold, in, hold the breath. And out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Easy breath in. Easy breath out. Okay, we'll just return to our normal breathing right now. Take a moment to feel into your body, the space around you. Take a moment to start feeling the effects of your breathing practice. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me on that. Okay, so that's just a short example of how I like to guide a breathwork session. I really do hope that that was a positive experience for you and that you can start to feel some of the beginnings of that benefit for yourself. As we're beginning to understand all the different ways that breathwork can help us out, I also want to spend a little bit of time setting expectations around it. While it can be an incredibly positive tool in your toolkit, it is just that, one of the tools in your toolkit. Breathwork on its own won't be an end-all, be-all solution to persistent pain that you've been feeling, but it can be an invaluable practice to build into your repertoire. As we've seen, by intentionally molding our breath, we can tap into the power of our parasympathetic nervous system, which helps calm down the elevated fight or flight response that we might have been feeling from long-term pain. The way that I really like to think about my breathwork practice is that it brings us to a place of a little more safety. It helps us turn down the volume of those pain signals, even if we can't turn them all the way off. And in a future session, we'll get more into how I use breathwork to prepare for and enhance the movement sessions that are critical in active pain management. All of these benefits might seem small or too incremental, but it's precisely that steady practice and that steady growth that creates lasting change in our systems, thanks to the power of classic conditioning. One common thread behind the development of many cases of persistent pain is the power of conditioning. In the context of persistent pain, this conditioning can occur when a person repeatedly experiences pain in conjunction with specific environmental cues, activities, or thoughts. Over time, these neutral stimuli become linked to the pain experience, triggering a conditioned response even in the absence of actual tissue damage. But now that we know how this conditioning works, we can also flip the script. Broadly, the goal is to create new associations that replace the pain-related responses with positive ones. As we've made clear by now, that intentional breath work induces relaxation, activates our PNS. It reduces stress and promotes that sense of calm. So by consistently practicing breath work during periods of pain, we can create more positive associations between the act of breathing and a reduction in pain, stress, and discomfort. The brain starts to link breathwork with relief. As individuals engage in breathwork during painful episodes, they can experience the benefits of reduced stress and lower pain perception. Right? The brain begins to build that association of breathwork with relaxation and pain relief, starting to break that negative conditioning cycle. And over time, the more that we practice breathwork during pain, the stronger that positive conditioning becomes. The brain's neural pathways adapt, leading to an iterative improvement in pain management. The conditioned response shifts from heightened pain perception to lower pain perception and greater relaxation. As the conditioned response changes, we may experience an increase in pain tolerance, becoming better equipped to manage chronic pain and reduce the emotional suffering associated with it. Classic conditioning principles might have gotten us into trouble in the past, but using iterative techniques with these positive reinforcements, we can gradually shift perception from one associated with pain to one associated with positive outcomes. So that pretty much wraps up our breathwork conversation for today. From here, let's talk more about what it might look like to take the next steps from here to continue on your healing journey. First, I always encourage you to take advantage of as many opportunities for educating yourself and that self-empowerment as possible. I've got 4 books up here, books that I really highly recommend checking out. The Painful Truth by Dr. Monty Lyman is up there on the left. Chronic Pain Rehabilitation by Dr. Evan Parks is top right. The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk down there on the bottom left is another fantastic book that focuses on the lifelong work of helping trauma sufferers. And then on the lower right there, Move the Body, Heal the Mind. It prevents a lot of really exciting and current research around some of those great ties between what moving your body can do to help overcome anxiety, depression, and a lot of those other different ties between our physical movement and our mental health. And the other block there, I'll provide a link in the description below or in the copy of the slides with that network for being able to search your area, search for a good fit for a licensed mental health professional for all of those reasons that we discussed earlier. So hopefully you're leaving here today feeling more empowered that you have the tools within you to take charge of your own healing. I truly believe that anyone who has developed persistent pain also holds the keys within themselves to reclaim a life where pain doesn't dictate who you are and what you do. But just because you inherently have the ability to make that positive change doesn't mean that you have to go through all of that work alone. I'm always happy to be here to be a resource to talk more about how a customized program of corrective exercise, breath work, and nervous system reconditioning could help you move towards your goals, and how to help you move toward healing through motion. When I work with my own clients, it can often be helpful to think of us focusing on improving two aspects of the whole self together. We are going to be making mechanical or more visible or physical improvements. We're going to address unique injury history and your movement goals, collaborate together to form a customized corrective exercise plan to improve any of those muscular imbalances. Within that plan, we're going to focus on stretching some of those overactive or shortened muscles, and we're going to work on strengthening some of those underactive or those lengthened muscles. Above all, we're going to seek to restore that postural and that structural integrity for improved quality of movement. And we're also going to be making improvements and changes to our nervous system. I want to be there as a resource to understand your unique pain history and factors that have contributed to sympathetic nervous system activation, whether that's in the past or in your daily life. We'll continue this education regarding pain management science and human movement anatomy, and we'll experiment with various techniques like breathwork, body scan, and more of those to build a self-reliant toolkit that you can go back to on your own. And of course, throughout this, we'll be reintegrating that positive conditioning with movement. All of this, of course, is aiming to seek to reclaim that fun and that joy in maybe old hobbies that you had, new ones that you're looking forward to. Throughout this entire process, I value an adventurous and highly personalized mindset. Everyone's pain experiences are different, and maybe the body scan that works well for someone doesn't work as well as the progressive muscle relaxation does for you, and that's okay. What's most important is that you have somebody by your side that's not going to give up on you, that is going to be a collaborator with you to experiment on some of those things, and that's going to have the expertise to guide you with a steady and knowledgeable hand as you grow your own toolkit to become more self-reliant in managing your persistent pain and moving forward on your healing journey. All right, everyone, thanks for joining in on today's workshop. Hopefully you're leaving here feeling like you have a little bit more knowledge and are more empowered to continue on your healing journey. While you're taking those next steps, I don't want you to feel like you're alone in this. I know firsthand how isolating persistent pain can be. And I also know how simple yet powerful it can be to share in that experience with someone else, especially with someone knowledgeable about helping you get to that next level of relief that you've been searching for. If you have questions about the topics that we covered today, or would like to talk more about whether corrective exercise, breathwork, and nervous system reconditioning could help you move towards your goals, please feel free to reach out via the links provided here on screen and in the description below. If you want to take a deeper look at the nervous system reconditioning side of everything, make sure to go back and check out that previous workshop. And in our next session, we'll be going through a corrective exercise crash course and how you can put more of that physical movement to work for you. If you want to make sure that you don't miss those or any others, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so that we can continue on this adventure together. I truly hope that this workshop has helped you in some way, and if you need some more help, I look forward to having a conversation with you very soon. See you next time.